Are you preparing for a government shutdown? Should our audience be doing the same?
Well, we don't know. The vote has been rescheduled several times. Now it looks like it's going to come tomorrow. The Democrats are voting no, though, because there's no consideration of health care and putting back some of the cuts that have been made to Medicaid or extending the subsidies for Obamacare. And it would be an easy fix. If you can't help people who need health care, what's the point? And you leave the government open, they just take advantage of that and use it to cut more programs. So I think you'll see Democrats sticking together as a no, and who knows what their side's going to do.
Congresswoman, the CBO came out this morning and said that the extension of those subsidies would cost about $360 billion. Is that a number that everyone remembers when the debt ceiling comes back into question?
Well, I'm sure it'll be bandied around, but it may be some different number by then. You know, you've got very selective use of statistics, and what they use today may not be what they use tomorrow. You know, this is a time when the Republicans control both houses. They control the president. They control most of what the court's doing at the highest level. So if this shuts down because they won't provide those subsidies, then they're going to have to do the explaining because it's going to all be on them.
Republicans who have joined us, Congresswoman, have suggested that there is still time. That the current CR that is going to hit the floor expires on the 21st of November. Of course, the subsidies expire at the end of the year. Would that not allow time for a robust debate around Obamacare subsidies and government funding by the end of the year?
Well, it could if they would allow it, or if they have any interest in doing it. You've already heard the president say, oh, don't bother with what the Democrats want. There's been no input from our side, so you're really just kicking the can down the road. There's no indication that they'd come to the table later. They haven't come to the table up until now. They've had plenty of time. It's not like this came as a surprise that this deadline was here.
Congresswoman, we are just getting some headlines coming from the president as he speaks to a gaggle on Air Force One. If you'll bear with me, I'd like to read them to you. He's talking about taking away the TV licensing, saying it's up to the FCC's Brendan Carr. He also goes on to say that TV licenses should be taken away if it's bad publicity for me. This, of course, follows the news overnight where we did see Jimmy Kimmel being put on indefinite leave from ABC around some of his comments around Charlie Kirk and the assassination there. Congresswoman, your response to his comments?
Well, it's astounding to me that the president would say we're going to take away freedom of speech for somebody who criticizes me. I mean, it's all about me with this president. I think somebody quoted saying that these regulatory agencies that are supposed to be watchdogs have just become lapdogs. They just do whatever he wants. The Justice Department, that's just become his personal lawyer. The FCC, you name it, whatever he wants, that's what they do. What has happened to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights? You may not like what Jimmy Kimmel says, maybe it's inappropriate, so maybe you disagree with it, but you can't just take away somebody's First Amendment rights because they don't like what you're wearing or what you're saying or, you know, making you look bad, but then you don't appreciate it. I mean, good God, that's what the Constitution is there for.
Well, maybe does this help Las Vegas? Jimmy Kimmel off the air, you can go into residency on the Strip, no?
Well, Las Vegas needs some help. I'm glad you brought that up because with all the uncertainty and the tariffs and insulting our international customers like Canada, it's hard to make them mad. They're such nice people. Tourism is down in Las Vegas, so maybe Jimmy Kimmel will perk up the Strip.
That's interesting. Of course, this is your home district. I talked to Derek Stevens about this at Circa a couple weeks ago about some of the declines that we've seen in traffic. Of course, he's doing pretty well at Circa with betting on the rise, and it brings us to an important story that you've got your hands on. A House committee rejected your attempt to restore a full federal tax deduction for gambling losses. We've talked about this, Congresswoman, on this program before. That's why Derek Stevens joined us, because the president's big, beautiful bill would only allow you to deduct 90% of losses if I come to your hometown of Las Vegas. Not that I ever lose there. You tried to get it attached to the NDAA, and it didn't work out that way. And when I talked to Derek Stevens about this at Circa, he made clear he was talking to you, Congresswoman, and your colleagues in the Nevada delegation in hopes to fix this. I want you to listen to what he said. Listen.
It's going to take people that bet frequently, some of the large bettors, some of the professional bettors, and even just some of the larger recreational bettors, and you're basically forcing them to no longer bet legally. The only ones that win out of this deal are the illegal bookmakers. Every state loses in this deal. Every state and every legalized sports book, as well as the U.S. consumer.
I don't know how worried they are about this up in the pools at Stadium Swim, Congresswoman, but do you have a plan B?
Well, I do, and I really appreciate Derek Stevens. He's been a great ally on this and kind of rounding up the gaming industry, because they weren't engaged in it too much from the beginning because they liked other parts of that big, beautiful bill. But he's really gotten them energized, and I completely agree with him. But in the first place, you don't tax somebody on money they don't have. It's like ghost money, phantom money. You know, you're paying taxes on $100,000 and you've really only got 90. You know, that doesn't make any sense. And so we've got to restore that full deduction. I'm going to use any mechanism possible. We've got the bill that stands on its own. We had the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee saying he wanted to fix it. We've got bipartisan support. The other Republican co-chair of the Gaming Caucus is on board with the bill. We can perhaps attach it to another bill come to fix what they did last time that was wrong. Maybe there's a bill at the end of the term. It's like kind of like the Christmas tree bill where you do tax extenders. So we're not giving up. Now, remember, too, you've got a whole nother year. This doesn't go into effect until the end of next year for next year's taxes. So there is time to get this done. It's a little frustrating, though. The Republicans stuck this in there. Then they suddenly realized, oh, where did this come from? This is a bad idea. And there's so many easy ways to fix it. It's like one sentence, and yet they don't seem to want to do it.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're giving up, and you have some time to work with, Congresswoman.
Yes.
Well, there's a report now that Las Vegas is in talks with the NFL to host the 2029 Super Bowl. Is that the kind of deal that brings tourism back to the way you want it in Las Vegas?
Oh, absolutely. That'll be right in my district. We have that fabulous Allegiant Stadium. Las Vegas used to just be kind of a gambling entertainment town, but now we're a sports town. Aces and the Knights and the Raiders and the A's. So it'd be great to have the Super Bowl.
I'm looking forward to seeing that new baseball stadium. So you play in the slots or the tables, Congresswoman? What's your taste?
I kind of like a crap game myself.
How about that? Interesting. Is this now? Are you on the Strip or Fremont Street? Where do you go in Las Vegas?
Well, you know, it's interesting. When you live in Las Vegas, a lot of people come to visit you. And I wonder if they're visiting me or they just want to come for Las Vegas. So we take them wherever they want to go. Downtown and the Strip are both in my district.